The Wally Show podcast is our daily radio show heard live through the WayFM app each morning and hosted by Wally, Gavin, and me, Betty Rock. For more fun, be sure to connect with us at wayfm.com/Wally.
The Wally Show podcast is brought to you by Colorado Christian University Online, where you can earn a degree online just like Betty Rock. You can learn more at ccu.edu/Wally. Serving it sunny side up. It's News-ish with Betty Rock on The Wally Show.
These days, it's the norm to turn on the news and see a grown adult acting like a child with bad behavior issues. You take, for instance, 39-year-old Rosemary Hain. Back in September, she was arrested and charged with assault after throwing her burrito bowl in the face of a Chipotle employee when the appearance of her burrito bowl wasn't, quote, to her liking.
Okay, now I do understand not being thrilled with your fast food order. Yes. I get that. But never in my wildest dreams has it been a situation where I'm like, oh, my only response is to throw this at somebody.
Exactly. But sadly, you see it all the time. I mean, even you've seen in McDonald's lines, I've seen countless videos of people crawling through
the window,
the drive-through window, and then beating people. It's like, what is going on?
Now, does throwing the bowl warrant a assault charge?
Yes.
Okay, I don't know. I was just throwing that out there. Betty Rock is very, very black and white on crime.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, so there you go.
Well, fast forward to December, and Rosemary was summoned to court to receive her punishment. The judge sentenced Rosemary to 180 days in jail, and he was quick to remind Rosemary that the food she would be offered in jail would definitely not be to her liking.
That's funny.
But the judge had an offer for Rosemary, and that was he'd be willing to knock 60 days off her prison time if Rosemary would be willing to take a job in fast food part-time for 2 months.
Fascinating. One, I can't believe she got 6 months for that, like, crime. It seems extreme. But then two, unless the person was hurt, but then two, the idea of creative punishment, like making her work fast food, is ingenious.
I love it. I love the judge's reasoning for this sentence.
Why should the city taxpayers pay for her and feed her for 90 days in jail if I can teach her a sense of empathy?
No, man, that's really good.
Yeah,
because you don't know what other people are going through. My daughter worked fast food. She worked at Chick-fil-A. And so anytime I'm tempted to get frustrated with service or whatever, I remember like her coming home days where people were like and she worked at a good place, you know, and I tend to have a little extra grace because I know the experience somewhat, you know, and so I think that's really cool. When you experience what somebody else experiences, it definitely gives you a little bit of empathy for them.
Exactly. And the good news is Rosemary took him up on his offer.
Good for her.
So she is going to be working in the fast food line. So if you find yourself in a drive-thru and you don't like your order, it could be Rosemary. And let me tell you, if you don't like how your food is, she'll serve it right back to you.
Yeah, I will tell you this. If I ever see anybody with the name Rosemary, I'm just going to take a chance and throw something at her just so she knows what it's like from the other side, even if it's the wrong Rosemary. And then I go to jail. Yeah, oh my goodness. Well, that's good. I think that's it. I like creative sentencing.
Me too.
That makes a point and makes a difference versus just locking people up. Uplifting WayFM, this is The Wally Show. You know that saying, it's better to give than receive? And there's definitely something to that, man. Like when you give and you take care of somebody or serve somebody, it really does last a long time. Like you walk out of there going, man, I'm so glad I did that. I think God wired us that way. And so here's kind of what I wanted to discuss with you is the best volunteer story that you have. Like a time where you were like, you know what, I'm serving in this capacity and, this happened and it was a really good experience. Because I think you might inspire somebody else to get involved maybe and go, oh, I could experience that too. Because if you're stuck in your faith, one of the best ways to get unstuck is to serve.
But it's taking that first step because I know it can be a little overwhelming or scary, to step up and say, okay, I want to volunteer and I want to help, because that means we have to be extroverted. We have to introduce ourselves to people. We have to help people, and that's putting ourselves out there. But I think, like you said, we won't regret it. if we do it.
Absolutely. Like I was going to go around the room and say, hey, what was a really great experience that you had serving? And then I can't go to Betty. So
What? I'm probably the only one you can go to. Please.
Come on now.
no, Gavin serves at church every week with
So
the kids.
do I.
What? Wow.
I serve at my church. Yes. Oh my gosh, I'm done. I'm done.
Well, you forgot to mention that you do Meals on Wheels.
Yeah.
I know I do Meals on Wheels. Do you know?
I do. I was impressed when I found out that you were doing this, and you really do enjoy it. What do you get out of it, Rock? What makes it special for you?
I think what I love about it is that you meet these people that you think these people don't exist. Like, there aren't people out there that spend so much time alone and they have no family, but it actually is true.
Right.
Like, you come across these people that are senior citizens. They're living in situations that are just sad, or they're living in situations that are worse than
your animals.
Yeah. And they don't have access to food, and you just think that's not possible, but it actually is. And you feel like you make a difference when you step up and you help.
This made such a big impact on Rock. She was telling me that whenever we stop doing the show, she thinks that that's what she wants to do. And I'm like, I support that. I think it's amazing.
I love it.
Yeah. So there you go. That's good. We found out something about Betty.
I'm glad that, I was the one you had to go to.
I
Did you
know.
notice that did you go to Gavin? No. Did you go to yourself? No.
I could have, but we don't want. It's
You don't
really,
want praise.
It's
Got it.
braggy
Yeah.
on our
Yeah.
end.
We're a little more humble.
Yeah. All right. So what is yours? 855-33-WAY-FM. What was the time that you volunteered and your story of how it impacted you and it made a difference in the way it made you feel? Because, again, you might inspire somebody else. 855-33-WAY-FM. Like Gavin volunteering for Meals for Wheels. Yeah, Gavin killing it. 855-33-WAY-FM. And so we'd love for you to share a story about your volunteer experience, because you might inspire somebody else to do the same thing.
Well, this is kind of through my life, but as a little girl, my family would, we had wrapped presents under the tree, then Santa was unwrapped. And we always had to, without knowing, we had to choose 4 of our wrapped presents to give to kids who didn't have toys.
Oh.
We weren't allowed to shake and try to figure out what it was. And I did that with my daughter always, and she would always pick the biggest ones to give away.
Oh.
So it's kind of like generational. And that's what I would do, too. I was very much the same kid. I would give probably the best gifts, and they were not rebought by our parents.
So then did they tell you what you had given up, or did you have to open it and you were like, oh, boy, that's going to hurt a little, but okay, I want to give it away.
Still, it was, to teach us to be charitable and to not worry about things.
And it has to do your heart a lot of good, too, to know that your daughter picked the biggest gift to give away.
Oh, I know.
Because you might be tempted to be like, let me find the tiniest little gift and give that away. So when you see them going, you know what, I'm going to give the big one away, you've done something right and you've instilled that spirit of generosity in them. It's a great idea. I love that. I'm going to start that with my wife. So, Lisa, what was the time that you volunteered and you got something out of it? Because you might inspire somebody else to do the exact same thing today.
So I volunteer for hospice, and one of my jobs was transportation. So I had a patient that I dealt with. She was a little lady who had this cute little dog that she'd put in a baby stroller and push him around while we were out. And I would just take her to her doctor's appointment, to the grocery store, whatever she needed. And then we would wrap it up with lunch at Chick-fil-A.
Oh, so
And then
good.
I'd take her home. And really, the thing about it for me was I enjoy people's stories. I loved making a new friend. It was a very sweet experience for me. I got more out of it than I gave, I think.
And hospice is one of those beautiful organizations that really serves people in the worst time of their lives.
And I think what people don't understand is how positive the environment is. People who do that job are compassionate and caring, and they're just angels driving around, taking care of people. I'm not putting myself in that category. I'm talking about the team, but it really is a very uplifting experience. I've been very blessed by it.
Well, as someone who has benefited from hospice and their care, allow me to put you in that category. I know you won't put yourself there, but the work that you do is so amazing for each of the family members around it. So thank you so much. And is volunteering for hospice, is it kind of easy to do?
Oh my gosh, yeah, it is easy and so fun. We have awesome volunteers. volunteers from every walk of life.
Well, there you go. So if you're looking for something to do this year that kind of gives back to other people and fills you up as well, maybe consider volunteering, and hospice might be a great place to start. I love it. Thank you, Lisa.
Have a great day.
Uplifting Way FM, this is the Wally Show, and colleges are going to be on Christmas vacation very soon, and a lot of times they get a decent amount of time off, and you want to get your kids home with you, but it's not always possible. But Rock, you found something that could help.
Yeah, so if you've got a kid in college and you want to make sure that they know, Amazon is making it possible for them to fly home with $25 plane tickets.
How is that possible?
I know, right? So they have no excuse to not make it home for the holidays.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a limited number of tickets left, though, 1,000 tickets to be exact, and they're being given away tomorrow at 3 a.m. Eastern Time, which would be 4 a.m. Central.
Yeah.
And 5 a.m.
No, the reverse of that. Reverse of that.
Oh.
3 a.m. would be, if it's Eastern, it would be 2 a.m. Central.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Well,
but they're still up. I mean, they haven't gone to bed
studying.
yet.
It's fine.
Studying, yes.
So if your kid would like to try their chance at nabbing one of these cheap tickets, they can put their name in the hat once they log into their Amazon Prime student account. I used to have a student account when I went to Colorado Christian, and it was awesome. If a plane ticket back home typically runs more than $500 and your kid does win one of these cheap tickets, they would just need to pay the $25 for the ticket and cover any of the cost over $500. And like I said, these tickets are limited, so if your kid misses out on one, the good and less exciting news is all students are eligible for a $25 discount code off any flight.
Oh, okay. Well, you know what? That covers your bag on a lot of flights, at least,
Yes.
So that's good. So there you go. Tell your kids about that. If you want to get them home and maybe money's a little tight this year, take a chance, and you never know. It might work out.
It's easy to let the fear of the unknown keep us from doing something that is good for us. But going back to school might not be quite what you think.
Yeah, one of my biggest fears going back to school was I'd have to watch a ton of online lectures, and I kind of have a problem staying awake during stuff like that. But it was so different than I had imagined, and way better.
Yeah, for sure. I thought I was going to have to take a bunch of tests, which I am not a fan of. But instead, I was able to write papers, which for me was way better.
Plus, you have the flexibility to work in school around your work and life schedule. Another big fear I had is, what if I don't understand something? What do I do?
Yeah, CCU, they foster community with your classmates, and they are a great resource. And Colorado Christian University has very responsive online professors who are there to help you, so you are never alone as an online student at CCU.
Learn more about how you can pursue your passion and find your calling with Colorado Christian University at ccu.edu. Colorado Christian University is a nonprofit impact partner committed to cultivating the mind without compromising the heart.
He'll help you make sense of today's stories
Never been much for public speaking or school, really.
as soon as someone explains them to him. It's News-ish with Wally.
So yesterday we were sitting in the office and Betty Rock pulls out her phone because she handles all of our socials and stuff, so it's not out of the norm for her to shoot a quick video of me embarrassing. Like, I had started singing something just to myself, and she's videotaped that before to embarrass me. And that's
always
what
off key.
That's where I thought we were going. But then you asked me a question because you had said that our other digital person, Amber, had said there's a TikTok trend going around. Do you remember this?
You catch a guy off guard and you just say, hey, name for me a woman.
Right. And so I paused for a second, and then the myriad of women running through my mind, I'm like, wait, I could not think of anybody all of a sudden. And so I said, well, you, Betty Rock, you. Mm-hmm. And I was so disappointed with my answer because I heard other people doing this throughout the building during the day. And they were like, Lucille Ball. I'm like, oh, that would have been a good one.
Yeah, because the funny thing is that why it's trending on TikTok is because when you catch a guy off guard and you say, name a woman, they start naming a woman that's just random.
Yeah.
You're like, how did that person even pop up in your head? And they don't know. It's just that you catch them off guard.
Yeah. Murphy Brown. You're like, what? That's a character. No. So, but as it turns out, though, the reason for doing this is to see if they think and so like girlfriends doing this with their husbands or with their boyfriends, thank you. Husbands and wives. I got confused there for a second. But what they said though is if the guy says your name he's a star. He may even qualify as a golden retriever, which we talked about yesterday.
Oh, golden
that really
retriever guy.
super guy.
He's eager to please.
Yeah, exactly. And so most guys, they say, will not say your name because they think you're trying to trick him. But if he says your name, then that guy is a keeper. Boom! And I said your name, Lady Rock.
So unfortunately, I have to keep you.
You have to keep me, exactly. Uplifting Away FM. This is the Wally Show. And when you're a parent, you do your best. You know, you try the best that you can, and you deal with the cards that you're dealt. But sometimes kids don't always understand it.
That's right. Yeah, there's an article I read about millennials who feel abandoned by their parents.
What?
And you might be thinking,
how sensitive are you?
Like, how do you feel abandoned? Well, many millennials these days are now becoming parents for the first time, and they need help with raising their children, like daycare.
Unlike their parents had.
Right. So when they go to their family, their parents, and they're like, hey, can you help me with, taking care of these kids? The boomer parents are like, you got to give us plenty of notice because we already made plans for our week
we got a life.
Right. And so millennials are feeling like, excuse me, these are your grandkids.
Yeah.
Shouldn't you want to spend time with them?
I had a friend of mine that she would fall into this category, and she thought nothing of asking her mom and dad to watch her kids, and it was going to be almost 3 weeks while they went to like Europe. Yeah, so it was like 2.5 weeks, and her mom said no. And she couldn't believe her mom said no. And she's like, no. She's like, I'll take one of them for a week, but not both of them. And like,
yeah.
But on some level, I understand it as someone who is starting to enjoy like having my own life again with my daughter like out of the house, and I have plans and I do things. But then I'm vexed because I would do anything for my child. You know?
Even if it meant like taking care of 4 grandkids for 3 weeks.
That'd be tough.
That's a lot.
I might hire some help.
That's a daycare.
That's crazy. So I am curious about this, though. Like, how have your parents helped, Because a lot of times it's easy to focus on the ones that aren't being there. But a lot of times we don't appreciate how much our parents still show up for us, even as kids.
Yeah, I think it's important to take notice of the things you're grateful for, you're thankful for, that your parents are helping you with, even as a grown adult. Like maybe you moved out of the house, but your parents are helping you, whether that be you personally or with your kids. Who knows?
Yeah, I have a feel I'm never gonna stop helping my kid. Like I'm gonna have to.
Well, she got a theater degree, so
I'm gonna have to. I'm in it for the long haul, apparently. 855-33-WAY-FM. That's 855-33-WAY-FM. Kind of a positive spin on this here. I'd love to hear your stories of how your parents, even as a millennial adult, are helping you with your kids now. 855-33-WAY-FM. How have you seen your parents help you still even as an adult?
I am calling as the grandmother, and I moved from Michigan to Kentucky to take care of 3 of my grandchildren.
Whoa.
And I feel sorry for those grandparents that just can't put their personal days aside and help their children out.
Do you think that there's a balance, though? Like, do you think it could ever be a thing where you get taken advantage of and you need to set some sort of boundaries?
Rarely. I would walk through fire for any of those grandkids.
Well, there might be a time if you have grandsons that you're going to have to walk through some fire because they set things on fire for some reason. I don't know why. So, girl, we appreciate you being on with us today. Thank you.
Have a great day and God bless.
So what have your parents done for y'all?
Well, so my husband was military for 22 years, and so we did not have the luxury of raising our 2 girls nearby, my parents. And so now that he's retired, they're 9 and 11 now, my parents, who are also retired, they drop everything and will drive the 2 hours to come help or attend any events that the girls have.
Do you let them know how impressed you are with their dedication to your kids?
Every day. My mom is my best friend, so I get to call her every day.
Do they take the kids for like a few nights and do like sleepovers at grandma's house?
Oh, they have grandparent camp every summer.
Oh, that's
so they
so
go out there
great.
and spend 2 weeks with my parents. It's amazing for everybody.
Yourself included, I take it.
Exactly.
All right, Jessica, you're up. How have you seen your parents help you out with raising your kids?
So every day after school, my kids ride the bus to my mom's house, and she keeps them until I get off work. So it's 2 kids every single day.
Oh, wow. That is a lot because, like, when you're a grandparent, you've raised your kids, and you're like, okay, now I'm done, and I want to go do these other things. But in essence, sometimes you end up still being a parent like this. I would imagine you greatly appreciate this, though.
Oh, for sure. And especially for my mom, she has like 35 grandkids.
Woo.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, I hope you tell her every now and then just how much you appreciate her. You let her know.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think, too, that time that you have as kids with your grandparents, you might take it for granted a little when you're a kid. But, boy, howdy, when you're an adult, you look back on some of those times. And I'm so glad for the time I got with all of my grandparents.
Yes, and that's a big thing, too, because she's the only grandparent they have left.
And how old is your mom?
My mom is 65.
Oh, okay.
Oh, she's still young. Yeah, that's awesome. Say that as someone who's 55. I'm like, oh, she's a spring chicken. Wow, a grandparent at 65? She's doing great. Jessica, we appreciate you being on today. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Uplifting Way FM, this is The Wally Show. And 'Twas the Night Before Christmas is one of my favorite things. And I thought it would be fun to rewrite it a little bit and do it as if it was from the perspective of a millennial. What would a millennial night before Christmas look like? And so this is what I came up with here. 'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the pad, not a creature was stirring, not even Chad. The kicks were all hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that St. Click soon would be there.
Click?
St. Nick, St. Click, Click Mouse,
Like,
Oh.
computers.
okay.
Don't throw me off, Rock.
Sorry,
I'm having to read.
This is great.
ahead.
This is great.
The squad was not extra, but tired from tea.
Nice.
They want to keep it 100. Keep it 100 low key. And my bae and her Lulu looked bussin' no cap.
Nice.
Had just settled in for a long Netflix nap. When out on the Insta, there arose such a clatter. I sprang from my bed to see what was the matter. Away to the Twitter, I flew like a flash, tore open my MacBook and threw up a hashtag. When what to my wondering eyes should appear but a self-driving sleigh and 8 AI reindeer. When the little old driver who could skirt so
Nice.
quick, I knew in a moment it must be St. Click. More rapid than Uber was his squad when they came, and he whistled and he shouted, and he called them by name on Snapchat, on Insta, on Facebook, on Twitter, on TikTok, on Zoom, on Spotify and Mixer. To the top of the feed and pinned on my wall. Now dash away, dash away, dash away all. His drip was so Gucci from head to foot, and all of his clothes were tarnished with ashes and soot. He spoke not a word, and he called in sick to work. As he filled all the stockings, he was totally turnt. And laying a finger aside of his nose, he proved once again why they call him the GOAT. He slayed in his sleigh, and to his fam gave a shout. TBH, I was scared, but it all just worked out. But I heard him exclaim as he drove out of sight, Happy Christmas to all, and to all a lit night.
Whoa, lit.
There you go.
That was amazing.
Thank you very much. Once we got past St. Click, we
Yes,
were pretty much in
yes,
there.
Loved it.
It's today's Music Insider, or TMI, with Gavin.
A while ago, we had Josh Wilson, who, if you don't know who this is, you kind of might recognize him for his song Angels We Have Heard on High.
Josh is a guy we love on the show, and he's been around for a long time, and always been kind of a solo act, and he's super cool. And recently, he's been way more open about like his mental stuff going on, which I love.
Yeah, and if we actually had him in for a conversation, kind of talking about his battle with addiction and anxiety.
Yeah.
And if you want to see that and hear more about it, you can text the word Josh to 91979. And these days, he actually uses his Instagram to continue to kind of dish out advice to anyone battling addiction or anxiety. And he often does a great job of incorporating faith aspects into it. Because I feel like sometimes with that stuff, people are like, oh, just pray about it more, do all this more.
Yeah.
But I think he often does a good job of doing it in a way that I think is practical. And he kind of did that in a recent post where he talked about negative self-talk.
I would say the most terrible things about and to myself. I'm thankful to be in a much better place now. Anytime I have those really negative thoughts, that really negative self-talk, I try to remember what God says about me, what the Bible says about me. I just imagine God saying, don't talk about my friend that way. It's been a really helpful exercise for me and a good way for me to pray and just ask God to help me see myself the way He sees me.
That's a great take on that, because I think we do have a double standard for ourselves a lot of times.
Yeah.
And that's where I've seen people do exercises before where they're like, write a letter to this person and tell them how much God loves and forgives them for anything they've done. And you write this glowing thing, and God will always love you. He'll never leave you. He forgives you, and He needs you. He craves you, and all this stuff. And then they're like, now keep that letter for yourself. Because we tell people all this stuff, but we very rarely internalize that for ourselves. But God has the same standard for everybody. And, all the things that we would tell somebody else are 100% applicable to our own lives as well.
Yeah, and I think I feel like we're much more likely to be a bigger blessing on other people if we forgive ourselves and love on ourselves in the way that God does. And then we kind of outwardly share that as well.
Well, there you go. And again, Josh Wilson does a lot of this stuff on his Insta, and so you might want to start following him. And if you struggle in this area, or somebody that is, he's a great resource as far as a godly perspective on walking through some of the anxiety and addiction and fears that come with life.
Not so fast, Trebek. I pose a conundrum to you, a riddle, if you will.
Uplifting Way FM, this is The Wally Show, and Betty Rock has a game prepared for us, a little Jeopardy game. You're going to get to take me on, and we'll get to pick some questions out of a category. What is today's category, Lady Rock?
Today's category is your basic Christmas Bible trivia.
Okay, I like
So
this.
these are trivia questions from the Bible that have to pertain to Christmas. Things that, if you're a Christian, you should know these things, right?
I appreciate you doing that. And do they start off pretty easy and then get harder?
Sure.
Because there are some things you think you know, and then when you're confronted with it, you're like, how did I not know that?
Right, exactly. Some of these will have multiple choice.
Okay, good.
Some of them won't.
Okay.
So,
well, if you think you know
chances.
more about the Bible than I do and more about the Christmas story than I do, good luck. But you could win a Christmas present right now. 855-33-WAY-FM. We're going to do this name as your buzzer when you think you know kind of thing, right? Okay. So you got to be quick on the draw, too. So 855-33-WAY-FM. If you want to play a little Christmas story, the Christmas story trivia with us right now, we'll do it.
Not so fast, Trebek. I pose a conundrum to you, a riddle, if you will.
Uplifting Way FM, this is The Wally Show. Stephanie, welcome to our Bible Christmas story version of Jeopardy. Betty Rock is going to host this, and you and I are going to take each other on. I was surprised, when we were kind of setting this up, I had said, if you think you know more about the Bible and the Christmas story than I do, call, and every line lit up. So, Stephanie, here we go. Your name will be your buzzer. If you think you know the answer, shout it out. Now, Lady Rock, are you going to tell us on questions that there is a multiple choice or no?
I will. This first question I'm going to ask you, though, I don't think you need multiple choice.
No multiple choice.
That might be a bold choice, but that's what I'm going to go with.
Okay, here we go.
All right, Stephanie, are you ready?
Ready.
All right. What gifts did the wise men bring?
I'm in fast.
Okay.
I mean, it seems pretty easy. Gold, frankincense, and myrrh, unless there's a trick question.
That is correct.
Nice.
Well done.
See, I told you, Stephanie. I told you I'm going to be on fire.
You got to be quick. Okay.
Question number 2.
Question number 2. This is multiple choice. How many miles did Mary and Joseph have to travel to get to Bethlehem?
Ooh, I think I know, but I'm going to wait for the multiple choice.
Was it 56, 90, 122, or 156?
Wally.
Uh-huh.
And the number that popped into my head was 90, right out of the gate. And so that's what I'm going to go with, 90.
That is correct.
No!
Dadgummit!
Oh, I am crushing this, Stephanie. Come on, you got to show up, girl.
Okay.
Okay.
Stephanie, this one is going to be double points, so you could still beat him, okay? This is also multiple choice. Where did Jesus' family flee to from Bethlehem?
Oh.
Stephanie.
Oh, okay.
Oh, she didn't
Stephanie.
even wait for multiple choice. What do you think?
Egypt.
That is correct!
Nice! What was the multiple choice?
Egypt, Israel, Asia, or Damascus?
I would have missed that. I would have said Botswana. I would have gone off the list figuring you were trying to trick me. Okay. All right, that's 2 points because she gave you double points. It all comes down to this final question. You better be quick on the draw, Steph.
Okay, here we go.
Okay.
This is multiple choice. Which direction did the wise men travel to go to Jerusalem?
Wally.
Okay.
It was wise men from the east, but does that mean they traveled west? Oh no! I've got myself in a conundrum here because this could be a really trick question. Because I'm thinking if it's wise men from the east, that was the east direction, which means they would have had to travel west to get. I'm going with west. Am
That's
I
your
right?
final answer.
That's my final answer.
West is correct.
Yeah! Oh, that felt so good. I just felt I had a feeling today.
Stephanie, I was hoping for you. I was pulling for you.
Well, thank you.
Well, you know what, Stephanie? I don't want to be a Scrooge here, so we're going to still hook you up with a lovely prize just for playing along and letting me just take you apart like that.
You're just faster than me. I wasn't expecting it.
And you know Betty Rock is not cheating because she will never help me out. If she's going to cheat for anybody, it'd be you.
That's very true.
Well, Stephanie, thanks for being on the show with us today, and I hope you have a Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Merry Christmas to y'all.
Uplifting Way FM, this is the Wally Show, and I need your help here because I don't know if I'm off base or not.
Yes.
Oh, thank you, Rock. I need a second opinion.
Yes.
A third opinion. So my wife and I were traveling, and we were flying on Southwest. And as you know, Southwest is open seating. Yeah. And so fortunately, we're right next to each other, so there wasn't that awkward saving a seat for either person because we were like B10 and B11. So we get on the flight. She sits by the window, and I take the aisle, and then she places a scarf in the middle seat. I feel like that is a foul.
She
really
did that
do.
because she was hoping people would think that seat was taken and that no one was going to sit there.
And it was a busy flight. They said all but 2 seats will be taken.
And
why can't it be that one?
Well, by that measure, why didn't you just sit next to your wife? I know it's the middle seat.
Well, because you're still always hoping that no one sits there, so you have the whole row.
So you're saying that your wife took action while you didn't.
Yes.
You were just
I left it up to
wishing
fate.
and hoping.
Yeah,
where she didn't leave it up to fate. She actually took some action.
But is that action ethical? That's the problem.
It's
I don't
smart.
think it is. I think I have a problem with it.
You're telling me that you would rather leave it up to fate, and fate's like, fine, here is this bigger man who's dealing with some BO issues and has had an accident, and you want him to sit right next to you.
Yes, rather than...
You would rather do that.
Yeah, I think the scarf is a problem because you're basically trying to beat the system and say, fool people into thinking that seat is taken. And the flight attendant even came back and she saw the scarf and there was a passenger in front of her and she goes, oh, these 2 seats are open, like the seat that we had between us and the seat right behind us. And the lady that was there took the seat behind us with friends of ours that we were traveling with. So we got the seat.
Hey, it worked out.
I felt guilty. I felt guilty.
Good grief.
I did. So here we go. 5 calls it. How bad a person is my wife?
I don't understand because you do things that I think are obviously unethical. And then when your wife does a seemingly little thing, you're just like, she is the worst
We
ever.
all have our boundaries. We all have our things.
Yes.
This is mine.
It's weird.
Yeah, so here we go. 5 calls it. Is it wrong to put something in the middle seat on a Southwest flight to try to hold it? Or is it perfectly okay that someone could ask you with anyone sitting there and have you move it? So I'm curious where people land on this. I think it's wrong. Obviously, my wife does not, and other people may feel like she does, or you may feel like me. We'll be surprised here. So here we go. 855 855-33-WAY-FM. That's 855-33-WAY-FM. I'd love to have you weigh in on this because I'm real curious if I'm wrong about this or not. So 855-33-WAY-FM for 5 calls it. Uplifting Way FM, this is the Wally Show. Carrie, thank you for joining me. My wife and I were on a Southwest flight where they have open seating, but my wife put a scarf on the middle seat in between us, kind of to, I guess, dissuade people from wanting to sit there or make them think that somebody was already there so that we would have the whole row. I kind of feel like that's a foul, honestly. I think that's wrong. And so where do you land on this?
Here's the thing. We were traveling on Southwest with a big group, and people had seats behind us, like they couldn't board yet. So we did save them a seat. But I think if you're not traveling with anybody else, you shouldn't save the seat.
So my wife wasn't necessarily saving it. She was giving the illusion of, I guess she's an illusionist is what she is.
Yes. There you go.
Okay, so I'm going to put you down for wrong.
Yeah, wrong, I think.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to tell her you said that, too.
Oh.
All right, Catherine, you're up. What do you think?
I think it's wrong. When I first graduated high school, I traveled for work, and I was always single traveling, and you just want to get on the plane and get where you're going. It's only going to be a couple hours. Just sit in a seat. And it's the worst when you're single and you got to go all the way to the back when there were all these other seats open.
I get you. I feel you. I don't even know how I proceed in my marriage after this.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, I think you'll be okay. It's okay to have your differences.
Okay, all right. Well, here we go. Thank you, Catherine.
All right, y'all have a good one.
All right, Kristen, what do you think? Should my wife have put a scarf on the seat in between us on a Southwest flight to give the illusion that someone was sitting there just to save that space? Where are you at on this?
I am going to agree with you. First time ever I've done this, but...
Yeah, because I felt weird about it. I love this is the first time ever you've agreed to me. You know you don't have to listen to this show, right?
But then I went laugh in the morning. How would I get through the day without you, Wally?
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, she's laughing at me this whole time. He is so dumb. All right, Virginia, you're up. What do you say?
I say it's totally okay to save a seat and deter the other person for whether it's your spouse or your friend you're traveling with.
Really? Okay, well, this is the thing. We weren't saving it for anybody else. Does this change your thing? It was just she wanted no one between us.
Oh, gotcha. I totally thought it meant saving because my husband is naturally an A-lister, and sometimes I forget to check in, and I don't board until C, and so I always have him save me a seat.
Yeah, I don't mind people saving it for somebody they're traveling with. I get that, like 100%. But it was like just trying to keep that middle seat so that we had more room. That's where I had a big problem. So now are you on my side?
I'm on your side now.
Oh.
I totally get that.
Perfect. That's all I needed to hear. Thank you, Virginia.
Thanks.
All right, Angie, what do you think? Did my wife commit a fraud by trying to place a scarf on the seat in between us on a Southwest flight to make people think someone was sitting there?
I think she did. I know how hard it is to find a seat and get in it and get out of the way, and I just feel like that's not what you should do.
Yeah, and I felt weird about it too, honestly. I probably should have said something. I did say something to her after the flight, after no one sat there. So maybe I'm not that great either. Well, there you go. That's going to do it for our 5 calls it.
Growing up in poverty has never been easy for children, but with the added challenges of the pandemic, conflict, and natural disasters, families around the world are facing an unprecedented food crisis. Unfortunately, those who are already hungry are now even more desperate. But by sponsoring a child through compassion, you can help provide life-sustaining essentials such as food and clean water. And with your compassionate support, that child can not only survive, but also flourish. You can find out how and choose a child to sponsor when you click on the compassion banner at wayfm.com.
Attention, please. Uplifting Way FM. Celebrities are just like you and me, except for the mansions, tigers, and sequins. It's the Rock Report with Betty Rock.
Forbes magazine, they did it again. They published their list of the world's most powerful women. Yay.
You don't sound excited about that.
I mean, it's good. It's just that some of the people that made the top, made the list are just
I know why you're not happy, because I'm sure who is at number 1, it's not, and you're not a giant fan.
Yeah. So, she's not at number 1. She's at number 5.
She's not at number 1?
She's not at number 1. She's at number 5, and it's the one and only Taylor Swift.
Yes. I see this, though. I mean, she is a billionaire now almost, and like her Eras tour, and she is wildly successful, works hard, and has done a great job, and she could be Mrs. Kelsey soon. So
that's true. But I would say that the obsession that Swifties seem to have about her and her life seemed extremely unhealthy.
Valid.
And unnatural.
Yeah.
But she's number 5. The only reason she didn't make it to number 1 is because the only women that beat her out were the president of the European Commission, the president of the European Central Bank, the prime minister of Italy, and vice president Kamala Harris.
You have to, if you're Taylor Swift, you have to be pretty excited about this because it's not like Beyonce beat you.
Right.
Because then you're apples to apples, but you're like, well, it was all politicians that beat me, and I came in after all of those people.
She came in, so Taylor Swift, she came in at number 5. She beat out Oprah Winfrey, who only made it to number 31.
Oh, wow.
Beyonce at 36.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
And Barbie barely getting in at number 100.
Oh, wow. So, man, that's pretty small company that she's in. That has to feel good if you're Taylor Swift.
Yeah,
because really, at this point, you can buy it. I am sure. Here's the thing. Like, when you get to a certain place and you've accomplished so much, you have so much money, you can buy anything you want to buy. So there's no
She can buy her way on the Forbes list?
No, I'm not saying she bought that. I'm saying that you can buy anything you want. But so when you get the accolades or the recognition that you can't just buy, and it puts her in that kind of company, for somebody that's in that tax bracket, like, that's a win. You know, that's the thing. Like, once you have everything, having power is something like, that's why people run for office a lot of times, because they have all the stuff they can buy, but what they want is the history, you know, and the legacy, and that's why they run for office.
And listen, don't get me wrong. Like, I don't...
Oh, I got you wrong.
Don't get me wrong. Like, Taylor Swift, I'm sure she's a nice, great person. It's just that, you know, when things get too popular, that's when you start not liking it.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about the whole situation.
I'm totally wired the same way, so I get that. But I'm going to say, you know what? Congratulations, Taylor, on this one. And I say that speaking for both Betty and myself.
No, you're not speaking for me.
Uplifting Way FM. This is the Wally Show, and we kind of elevate actors to a high position, and we're like, man, these people are amazing. They've got everything. But recently, The Rock was talking about how
not me.
No, not Betty Rock. The Rock.
I
Dwayne
am
The Rock.
Sorry,
the other Rock. The less famous Rock, Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
Yes.
He had said that he's actually been asked by some political parties to run for president of the United States.
That doesn't surprise me.
No.
We have an election coming up. Why not him? He'd be as good as some of the other people, probably.
Yeah.
He seems kind. I don't know about his intellect, but he seems like he could schmooze enough to work across the aisles. He didn't say which parties, but it obviously wasn't Republican or Democrat. It's got to be like third party type thing. But he did say that while it was an honor, my goal has never been to be in politics. As a matter of fact, there's a lot about politics I hate. It's a smart man. And two, man, like you're wide open because they go into all your background and your skeletons are coming out if you do this.
Yeah,
you know?
that's true.
So.
If I had to choose a celebrity to be a president, I think I would pick one that would irk you.
Oh, thank you.
Wow.
So I think I would either go with Ryan Seacrest because I don't think
so good.
the man doesn't sleep. The man does not sleep.
He's
so
got
he
everyone else's job. Why not that one?
Him or Jerry O'Connell. I'm just not sure.
Every day. I would be like ABC News was for Trump. I would be like that for Jerry O'Connell. Like, it would drive me nuts, and all I would do is talk about him every day.
And I would say, that man can do no wrong.
Yeah. Gavin, who would you go with a celebrity?
In the way that you're trying to irk him, I think I'm doing it to make you happy. I'm picking Dolly Parton.
Yes!
She does run like a handful of organizations.
Yeah.
She cares about education. I feel like those are all good things. But more importantly, I feel like she would fit the bill of our, the streak of old presidents. No offense.
And she is good at getting people of all different, backgrounds to like her.
Who can hate her?
That's good. I had thought about this in a couple ways. I thought of Morgan Freeman because he's already done the job.
Yes.
People like him. He played a president in a couple movies, and so I like that. Or maybe Bill Pullman, who was the president in Independence Day.
Yes. I like
him.
both of those options.
Yeah, so those are good. But I mean, if I'm pushed and I got to pick one, it's 100% Ryan Reynolds.
Yes. I love this.
I love Ryan Reynolds, man. He just no nonsense. He's like learning to be a businessman, and he's an actor, and he's just funny. Like his press conferences, I would love to see. Like that would be great. So, okay, those are our options. If you were to pick a celebrity to run for president here in this next year, who would it be and why? 855-33-WAY-FM is the number. That's 855-33-WAY-FM. What celebrity do you think would make a good candidate?
I think Kevin Costner would because of how he runs Yellowstone Ranch.
Yes, very much so. He runs it with an iron fist, and that's what we need in this country anymore, is someone that will say no and make the hard decisions. And so, and he's a good one. Is he doing a voice in Yellowstone, do you think?
What do you mean by doing a voice?
Because he talks like this in Yellowstone. Like, I don't know if his voice has just gotten that gravelly or if he's making an acting choice to be like, this is Mr. Dutton and this is my rancher voice.
I don't think so. I think that's just him.
You think it's just his voice? He's just gotten a little gravelly?
Yeah.
It would make for a very intense press conference or State of the Union, that's for sure. My fellow Americans, like, what's going on? I'm happy today. Really? You can't tell from your voice. Well, Carrie, thanks for being on the show with us today.
Yeah, thank you.
Who do you think?
I'm going with one of those chef celebrities, Gordon Ramsay.
Oh, that's not a bad choice. You would have to bleep out so much of his press conferences, though.
No, actually, the only reason he does what he does is because people really irritate him. That's why.
You know, he's a business guy, and he's a no-nonsense guy for sure, and he definitely would call it like he sees it. He would have to learn to be a little bit of a diplomat, I think, in that position. And I think that's something that Trump never really figured out. He was a business guy, but he didn't have any desire to be a statesman, and I think that that's kind of a necessary part of that job. Gordon Ramsay, though, I think he has the capability to do that, because if you watch his stuff with kids, his kids show, it's pretty good.
I haven't watched it yet, but I'm sure it is. I like what he does with adults, so I'm sure I would like what he does with kids.
Oh, it terrified me when they're like, he has a new kids cooking show. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me on this one. But he can turn it off or on. And kind of like Howard Stern when he was on America's Got Talent. He kind of altered his behavior a little bit to fit the room, and he did a good job with that. And so, you know what? That's not a bad offering, man. I think that that's a good one. I love it. And so I'll put you down for Gordon Ramsay.
And now for some good news.
Uplifting Way FM. This here is the Wally Show with a little good news. Giddy up. 3 rapid-fire good news stories coming at you, designed to make you feel better, because the regular news can be a bit of a bummer. We're going to start things off with the lovely and talented Lady Rock.
There's a 17-year-old. Her name is Elle, and she started something called Socks for Seniors. And it's a campaign that she does every holiday season. She sends silly socks and kind notes to nursing homes around the country. Just to make people smile. She started this in the 7th grade. This is her 5th year doing it. In the past years, she's sent nearly 5,000 pairs of socks to 92 different nursing homes.
That's amazing. Good for her. I love that she started something and has stayed with it all this time. Gavin, good news, Giddy up, go.
A woman in Texas spent a full month trying to catch a stray dog with a plastic jug stuck on his head. It's so sad.
That is sad.
She did finally catch him, and they were able to get the jug off. And then she, of course, named him Jughead.
Yeah, I get that.
So
my cat has a cone on right now because she had to have surgery on her tail.
Coney.
And it is Coney. That's good. And it's the worst thing. Like, she bumps into everything and then freaks out and runs. She dropped part of her food under her chin in the cone, and that was just a disaster, her trying to get that. So I got 2 more weeks of this. So I got to ask this lady for some tips on Jughead. And finally, there was a former Army tank gunner named Jay, and he got terminal cancer, a diagnosis last year, and he was given 12 months to live. But this guy's still fighting 18 months ago. He's still with us, so that's awesome. But he got to cross something off his bucket list. Over a year ago, he got on Reddit and said he wanted to ride in a tank and feel the sheer power of it again. And yesterday, Fort Moore in Georgia, the soldiers there hooked it up. The 194th Armored Brigade took him out in an M1 Abrams tank, which this tank is bad, and let him fire it. And he said it was every bit of what he remembered. So I love that. I love that they took care of one of their own. And that's going to do it for your good news. Giddy up.
Well, that's the end, but it doesn't have to be. Check out our Aftercast. It's new stuff you didn't hear in the podcast. Be sure to rate us on iTunes as well as connect with us on social media. Just search Wally Show. And if you'd like to join our Facebook group made exclusively for you potties, the link is in the description of this podcast. Thanks to Colorado Christian University Online for supporting what we do.